Hey everyone, in this video we're walking through every question in Module 2 of Practice Test number 8. That's 7 questions. For each one, I'll read the passage, show the question, pause so you can think, then walk through every wrong answer, and finish with the correct one. Question 1 of 7. We're jumping straight in with a medium. This passage is titled The Development of Electric Lighting. The passage explains that while many inventors worked on electric lighting, Edison improved the design with a reliable, long-lasting filament. The blank sits inside the final sentence, which states that his contributions played a pivotal role in making electric lighting commercially successful. We need a transition that fits standard English conventions. 3 of the options are contrast or concession words, and only one signals a cause and effect relationship. Identifying the logical link between Edison's reliable filament and the commercial success of electric lighting is the key to picking the right transition. Choice A, nevertheless, implies a contrast, but the sentence reinforces rather than opposes the prior point about Edison's improvement. Choice C, although, introduces a concessive clause which does not fit the structure of this independent sentence. Choice D, however, also signals contrast, yet there is no opposing idea between Edison's reliable filament and the lighting's success. Choice B, therefore, is correct because the sentence presents a result. Because Edison perfected a practical filament, his contributions drove the commercial success of electric lighting. Therefore, signals that consequence cleanly and matches the cause and effect logic the passage builds. Question 2 of 7. Here's an easier one. This passage is titled The James Webb Space Telescope's Observations. The passage describes the James Webb Space Telescope and its scientific contributions, and the question asks which choice completes the sentence in a way that follows standard English conventions. The blank sits between the subject, the James Webb Space Telescope, and the main verb has provided. Whatever fills it must introduce a non-essential relative clause that supplies extra information about the telescope without breaking the main sentence structure. Choice B, which, leaves the clause without an auxiliary verb, since launched alone cannot work as a passive past tense here. Choice C, being, produces a participial phrase that wrongly suggests an ongoing action rather than a completed event in 2021. Choice D, was, omits a relative pronoun, so the inserted clause cannot attach to the subject and the sentence ends up with 2 competing main verbs. Choice A, which was, creates the relative clause which was launched in 2021. The relative pronoun which connects the clause to the telescope, and was launched supplies a complete passive verb, leaving has provided to function as the main verb of the sentence. Question 3 of 7. Keeping it straightforward, this passage is titled Origins of Meteors. The passage describes meteors as small particles from comets or asteroids that burn up entering Earth's atmosphere. The question asks which choice completes the text, so it conforms to the conventions of standard English. We need a relative pronoun and verb that can introduce a non-restrictive clause set off by commas, providing extra information about meteors. Since meteors are objects, not people, and the clause is offset by commas, we want a pronoun suited to non-restrictive description of a non-human noun. A fails because who refers to people, and meteors are objects, not human beings. B fails because that typically introduces restrictive clauses essential to meaning, but the commas here mark a non-restrictive clause where which is the standard choice. D fails because the singular is does not agree with the plural subject meteors, and dropping the relative pronoun leaves the sentence structurally broken. Choice C, which are, is correct. Which properly introduces a non-restrictive clause supplying additional information about meteors that they are often referred to as shooting stars, and the plural verb are agrees with the plural subject meteors. Question 4 of 7. Another easy one. This passage is titled The Role of Antoine Lavoisier. The passage describes how Antoine Lavoisier revolutionized chemistry by doing something with the principle of conservation of mass. We need the verb form that completes the sentence in a way that conforms to standard English conventions. Each choice offers a different form of propose. the present participle proposing, the simple past proposed, the present perfect has proposed, and the future will propose. The blank follows the preposition by, which is the key structural clue here. Choice B, proposed, fails because a finite past tense verb cannot follow the preposition by in this structure. Choice C, has proposed, is a present perfect finite verb that also cannot serve as the object of by, and it clashes with the established past tense narration. Choice D, will propose, places the action in the future, which contradicts the historical context of Lavoisier's completed work, and likewise cannot follow by. Choice A, proposing, is correct. The preposition by requires a gerund or present participle to form the phrase by proposing the principle. This construction explains the means by which Lavoisier revolutionized chemistry, and it pairs cleanly with the main verb revolutionized already in the sentence. Question 5 of 7, still easy territory. This passage is titled The Impact of Microplastic Pollution on Marine Ecosystems. The passage describes a critical issue for the sustainability of marine ecosystems, then explains that microplastics are now found in all major oceans and are ingested by organisms from plankton to large mammals. We need the choice that most logically completes the opening sentence. The blank serves as the subject of the opening claim, so whatever fills it must be the exact thing the rest of the paragraph elaborates on. Every following sentence centers on microplastics, their spread through the oceans, and their effects on the food web. So the subject has to name that specific contaminant. Choice A, the proper disposal of single-use materials, points to a possible solution rather than the contamination problem the passage actually describes. Choice C, the importance of conserving marine biodiversity, is too broad and never matches the passage's narrow focus on microplastics. Choice D, public awareness about recycling practices shifts to human behavior and education, while the text discusses pollutants already present in the oceans. Choice B, microplastic pollution, slots in perfectly. It names the precise issue the passage develops, and the supporting sentences about ingestion by marine organisms and the contamination of the broader food web all describe consequences of microplastic pollution specifically. Question 6 of 7, one more easy. This passage is titled Field Study on Urban Animal Behavior. The passage describes how species like pigeons and raccoons adapt to urban environments, then notes that researchers have also observed behavioral changes such as increased nocturnality and modified foraging. We need the transition that best links these two ideas. The choices offer 4 logical relationships: contrast with however, illustration with for example, addition with additionally, and cause and effect with therefore. We need to identify how the second sentence relates to the first. Choice A fails because however signals contrast, but the second sentence elaborates rather than opposes the first. Choice B doesn't work because for example would require specific instances of adaptations, yet the second sentence describes a general category of behavioral changes, not concrete examples. Choice D is wrong because therefore implies that the behavioral changes result from the first sentence's claim, but no cause and effect link is established. Choice C, additionally, fits because the second sentence layers on more information about the same adaptations introduced in the first sentence. It moves from the general claim that these animals adapt well to a further detail about what those adaptations involve, which is straightforward addition. Question 7 of 7. Last one. A medium. This passage is titled The Decline of Pollinator Populations. The passage opens with a blank subject that has profound implications for global ecosystems and agriculture, then explains that pollinator populations have dropped sharply because of habitat destruction, pesticides, and climate change, threatening crop fertilization and biodiversity. We need the choice that names the topic the rest of the text develops. The blank functions as the subject of the opening sentence, so whatever fills it must be the very thing the following sentences elaborate on. Since the supporting details all describe pollinator declines and their consequences, the correct choice has to name that decline. Choice A points to rapid growth of crop production, but the passage never discusses agricultural expansion. It discusses threats to fertilization. Choice C introduces genetically modified crops, a topic the text never raises and that has no link to the pollinator decline being described. Choice D mentions alternative fertilization methods, which again is absent from the passage and fails to capture the decline that drives the implications discussed. Choice B, the decline in pollinator populations worldwide, fits perfectly. It matches the explicit references to sharp declines in pollinator populations and connects directly to the threats against ecosystem services and crop fertilization, giving the passage a coherent subject. That's all 7 questions for Module 2. Pause the video and count up how many you got right. If you found this helpful, like and subscribe. I post full walkthroughs like this for every practice test. Good luck on test day. You've got this.